Hi there, welcome to another episode of Shimano Insight Tips. My name is Melvin from Shimano Singapore. So lately, the main fishing craze would be slow jigging. Then you go to a fishing shop, you look at all the slow jigging rods. There are so many types of slow jigging rods out there. So what is the difference? So how does this affect your fishing? How does it affect the jig action? So today I'm going to show you how choosing the right rod to match the jig is a very important skill as well. I believe that some of you have tried slow jigging, or I've read some articles about what slow jigging is, or YouTube videos. So to make this later rest of the video much easier, let's just set the record straight. There are in my opinion, there's two kind of slow jigging method. One is short pitch and one is long pitch. So pitching basically means how much you move the rod. So this is a short pitch rod, and this is a long pitch. So depending on what kind of jig that you're using, you have to choose the right short or long pitch to impart the correct action. And in order for you to do that more easily, the right kind of rod is very, very important. So what do I mean? I have in my hand now our two new rods, the Speedmaster Slow-J and the Jig Rex Slow-J. So if you see, both of these rods is equipped with the same Fuji DPS. So assembly here is about the same weight. But now let's take a look at the pitch of the taper of the rod. I'm going to hold on to the tip and support it midway. So now you can clearly see the difference of what is a short pitch rod and what is a long pitch rod. So later in the video, I'm going to show you how these two rods will behave and how it affects the jig when it's underwater. Each rod will undergo 3 different kind of tests: short pitch, long pitch. I'll try to keep the conditions the same. So I'll move this reel and this jig onto the next rod and next rod. So for reel, I'm using the Osha jigger, and for jig, I'm using the Stinger Butterfly Long 200 grams. So the first rod to be tested would be our Speedmaster Slow Jig. Okay, so let's see how this rod affects the jig action depending on the kind of pitch that I'm doing. Alright, so let's go. So this pool is only 4 meters, so it's a little bit short, so I'll try my best. So we have a diver underwater, so hopefully we can capture a good image of the jig underwater for you to view. So whatever rod you are using for slow jig rod, all the rod tip design is to be extra tension. Okay, so meaning there's nice kick at the end. So whether to know your jig is working correctly, you need to have that kick. So now I have this kick, you can see the rod tip straightens. So what happens when the rod tip doesn't straighten? So we remain sluggish. So the jig is just in fact going up and down in the water. So we need the tip to be straightened. Then the action comes in. Right? So now let's go into long pitch. So long pitch, let's see what happens to the jig. Similarly, try to get the kick in the blank before you go back down. Right, so that's for the Speedmaster Slow-J. So next we will change on to the Jig Rex Slow-J and see how the different pitching because of the rod will affect the jig action. So I've just done the test for Speedmaster Slow-J. So now I'm going to be doing the Jig Rex Slow-J. So this is a vastly different taper action rod. So let's see how the jig behaves in the short pitch and the long pitch. Same here on my hand, it's just a different color, but I'm still using the Stinger Butterfly Long 200 grams. Okay, so I'll be doing the short pitch first. Okay, so now I'll be doing the long pitch. And our final test will be with the game type Slow-J. Same process, starting with the short pitch first. So let's go. So let's do the long pitch. So now we have done the test with the 3 rods. So if you ask me, the one as the person doing the pitching on land, personally I felt the Jig Rex Slow-J gave me the best jig action. Because of the swimming pool water is very clear, I can see that it's very easy to keep the slow jig just right below me. Okay, of course there's no current, but even in a sea condition, I believe that the Jig Rex Slow-J action will be the most easy for you to work the jig in the strike zone. So for the Speedmaster Slow-J, it's very nice when we are doing long pitch and the rod is very strong, so making long pitch with a 200-gram jig, very comfortable. So under what situation should you choose a slow jig rod, the Jig Rex Slow-J or Speedmaster Slow-J? Other than the typical jig that you like to use, I think it's also important that you ask yourself, how do you like to fight the fish? I mean, there's no right or wrong way. If you look at the Japanese angler, they have a Abunayo style fishing. That's what I call. Abunayo means careful. So this is a Abunayo style fishing because they are very slow. They don't have much pressure on the rod. But for us, anglers in Southeast Asia, we really like to fight very hard. So that's where the Jig Rex Speedmaster Slow-J will come into play. I'm not saying you can really high stick it, but compared to the Jig Rex Slow-J, you can lift the rod just a little bit much higher. So I'm going to show you what do I mean right now. So if you have seen the Japanese videos, so they are always using this part and holding on and just moving around, just pulling. That's fine. With a Japanese spec rod, that's what you're supposed to do. But with this one catered for Southeast Asia anglers, you can fight it the normal way. You can still pump, but of course never ever go across the horizon. So keep it like that, so you can still steer the fish. But you have to remember, for slow jigging, you are using very light line. So never fight like you are. This way you are asking either line burst or rod burst. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to fight with the Jig Rex Slow-J. So when fighting with a soft action rod, you need to start to feel the pressure along the butt handle section area. Okay, so keep the pressure constant. You see, my butt and my tip is always more or less in the straight line. So I don't really do too hard on the tip. So this way, the fish will slowly come up onto the surface. So that concludes the test that we have for today. So hopefully from the video earlier, you can have a better understanding of what kind of slow jigging rod suits your fishing style and of course your fishing ground. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave at the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you like what we are having here. And if you have any videos that you would like us to produce, also feel free to leave it at the comments below. So till next time, my name is Melvin. Tight line.